Welcome back. Welcome back to segment 2 of District 57 Area and Division Leader Training. We're going to continue our training session today. In our first segment, what we kind of did was to give you an overview with some tantalizing details here and there. So we're now going to start going into more detail. We're going to peel the onion a little bit as we go. And the first thing we're going to do is, remember when Carolyn was talking, she alluded to the fact that Ed would be giving us some more details. That's what we're doing now. Ed Cullen is our Club Growth Director, the outgoing Public Relations Manager. And Ed is going to give us a talk on what he calls expectations for area directors, covering enough topic that I'm going to give it to Ed to take it away, Ed.
Thank you, George. We all know that Toastmasters like to repeat things 3 times. So first, I'm going to, oh, should I be doing my slides? Sorry. Let's see if I can find my slides.
I've got some for you if you can't find yours.
That would be great. If you throw it on up. But the first thing I'm going to do is remind you that Carolyn told you about AD responsibilities, the role, and what makes a good area director. And I'm going to drill down a bit after that. But the first thing was the responsibility. And she told you that you need to file an area visit report on November 30th, 2021, and on May 31st, 2022. Maybe the next slide is where we want to be. But have you ever tried filing your taxes on April 15th? It's pretty busy. So what I would like you to do is think about those dates being the end of October and the end of April. Because then if there's a banana peel in the road, you will still be on time. Later, we're going to talk about 30, 60, 90 planning. If you are going to submit your area visit report in October, you're really going to start in August. So think about and get comfortable with your clubs. Think about your clubs, visit your clubs. And that is the first of your responsibilities. Get those area reports in. And then she told you about the role of an area director, that you're the liaison between your club and the district. Whenever anyone says the district should do that, they're really talking about you and your division director. The district for those clubs is you. You need to understand and support your clubs. We talked about the Distinguished Club Program. A 10-goal club is not the same as another 10 gold clubs. Clubs get to their goals in a different way. The DCP is not a game. It's important. It reflects things that are important about the club, but it isn't a value judgment either. It's just a yardstick. You want all your clubs at the end of that yardstick, of course, but each of them will get to the end in a different way. Carolyn talked about what made a good area director. And of course, what makes a good area director is you. Know your why. Know their why. See how they align together. Your division director has probably been an area director. Being an area director is, I think, the funnest possible job. The division director needs to know how to motivate different people. It's a wonderful experience because just as all your clubs aren't the same, all the area directors aren't the same, but we're trying to set everyone up for success, the clubs and the area directors, and of course, the division directors. Carolyn said that you need to put the relationship first. That is your relationship with the club or your relationship with your area directors. Find your why, work on the relationship, be a servant leader, be resourceful, be mindful of service. Let's go to the next slide. That's probably enough. You heard it from Carolyn. It was a wonderful presentation. You may hear these things again because they're important, and we'll just cement them in. Get those reports in, be a liaison, be the district. So how do we build relations? Obviously, you're going to visit your clubs, and you're going to tell your clubs that there are things we support. We support them by incentives. We have incentives for club open houses. And there are rules. You need to have at least 3 guests or one that joined. You need to advertise it ahead of time. You need to put that on the agenda. You can bring in a guest keynote speaker. You don't have to, but you can. But you must do a number of things, and it's all very clearly laid out on d57tm.org. What else do we incentivize? Well, we certainly incentivize the Triple Crown, which you heard from both Tong and from Carolyn. You need a level 5 and 2 other things. We incentivize the OATM, the Outstanding Achievement Toastmasters. And that award is a little beneath the surface. You need to talk about it. I was speaking to someone who actually may be on this call, and she said, oh my goodness, I wasn't aware of that. I probably have earned one of those. And she looked at the form again, findable on d57tm.org. And she said, oh, I just need to do one more thing, and then I'll have my Outstanding Achievement Toastmasters Award. You need to let the world know, let your clubs know what's out there. Not everyone goes to d57tm.org every day. As PRM, it broke my heart. But the truth of the matter is, people have other lives. They have other things going on. You need to point out what would be helpful to them. That's on d57tm.org. And of course, on toastmasters.org, which will be very helpful to you. What else do we incentivize? Well, Carolyn talked about the moments of truth a lot. The moments of truth mirrors that area visit report. So it is a wonderful thing. And your club that was President's Distinguished can learn things about themselves through the moments of truth and can improve. As I said, not every club that is President's Distinguished is the same. Clubs get there in different ways, and there's always something that can be improved. There's always something you can help your clubs do to improve. We certainly incentivize distinguished clubs. We incentivize club coaches and ambassadors, and those are 2 programs you're going to hear a lot about at our DEC meetings. And what I'm really excited about, and this comes from my experience both as an area director when I really didn't know how to start a club, and I went to someone who said, oh, well, you need 20 people in a room with waving a check in their hand, or you can't really start a club. And it discouraged me. When I was a division director, I had as my personal goal to start a club for every one of my areas. That was on me. And I tried my best to start a club for every one of my areas, because this time of year, an area director is thinking, well, how do I get from select distinguished to president's distinguished? Oh, I need to start a club. I need to have a net gain of one in my clubs, which means I need to start 2 clubs if I've lost a club. How do you do that in a month? You don't do that in a month. The time to think about that is July 1, not June 1. Your division director, or if you're a division director, you need to think about how to set up that success for all of your area directors. Say you have 4 areas, 4 clubs, very doable. And if you try to start a club in, say, August, and you do not succeed, you've learned what it takes to not start a club, and you'll do something different next time. We have enormous incentives. George is being very generous with me and allowing me to incentivize early club starts from now to October. The division director can get $125 in district bucks. The spark plug, who could be the club sponsor, can get $125 in district bucks. The area director, if they're involved, can be a part of that. After October, it goes down to 75. After March, it goes down to 50. But there are a lot of people who can get that incentive for one club. So we are really encouraging you to think about starting clubs. And it's not just because my title is Club Growth Director. I've been interested in starting clubs from the time I was an area director. Back then, in those ancient days, it was called an area governor. I just couldn't do it. Your division director probably can. And I would like to see all 9 division directors try to start clubs in all of their areas. If we don't achieve this goal, we'll still have paid out a bunch to the people who have started clubs. And think about that. If every division started 2 clubs, we would be in fabulous shape. I'm going to look for my time. Great. 10:10. So what are the expectations? We're going to start clubs. We're going to bring all clubs to excellence. Your clubs are going to be distinguished. Your relationships with your clubs are going to be great. We are going to have a fabulous year. And I think that's my time. Back to you, George.
Let me unmute myself. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Ed. Great, great talk. We're going to be talking a lot more about what you'll be doing during the year at our district exec meetings. I'm going to move it right along, preserving, respecting everyone's time. Now we're going to dip into another fine detail about how the year works. Every Toastmaster club, area, division, district has certain things that are happening each year in a fairly predictable pattern. Now, as club officers, you may not have really realized what was going on or that there was a background schedule behind it, but there is. So Nancy Muscardini is our public relations manager. That means she is the lead public relations officer in the district. And among her other duties, she manages the resources for all our internal communications, the website, the emails, the newsletter, so forth like that. So what I've asked her to do today is to go through at a kind of a medium level what's going to happen during the year and what your role in those events are going to be. So Nancy, take it away.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, everyone, for being with me today. George, can you put up the slide, please? And we will just get started in just a moment. Let me tell you a little bit about PR. We publicize the news and events and really the value added Toastmasters, not just at the club level, but also in the public. So we're going to talk about what's going on in this year in PR. Now, this is going to be, like George said, a little medium level, but more information will be coming out over the next few months. So let's go to the next slide, please. Perfect. Thank you so much, George. First thing you need to do, if there's anything I'm asking you to do today, is to go to the d57tm.org site and bookmark it today. That's where you're going to get news and information on events, and you always have it available to you. Now, what we're also going to do, I'm doing a quick overview of the agenda. We're going to look and view and understand our calendar of our events, how to submit your events. And you can also use it as a tool for planning. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later with Ed. One key thing you'll get from us will be a newsletter. And this is your channel, your opportunity to communicate your success. Next slide, please. Now let's take a look about the calendar and why it's important. On D57, we have a calendar of all your events. They are district events only, such as TLI and your speech contest. We update it monthly, and more often, we're going to update it even more often than that. And you know what? Submitting an event is very, very easy. Let's take a quick look at that. The next slide, please. Okay. When you go to the calendar, there is a link. The link's actually on this slide, but it's actually on the webpage itself, how to submit your event. It's a Google form, very straightforward. You fill it out, it gets submitted to us, and we'll review it and put it on the calendar for you. Now, I'm going to ask you a couple things here. When you have an event, such as your speech contest, let us know at least 2 weeks before your event. That gives us time to put it on the calendar. If you need a Zoom link, if you need some additional advertisements, that gives us some time to start building up for it. Because keep in mind, we're all volunteers, so we want to allow some time to be mindful of everyone's time with that. Next slide, please. So you know how to submit an event. Now let's take a look at the calendar. I broke this out into a couple separate slides. Let's take a look at the first half. We officially start July 1st. What's our first big event? TLI. TLI is July 17th. This also is a great time, as Carolyn and Ed said, to start looking at your area visits of your clubs. In August, we have the TLI makeup training. It's another opportunity to do other visits. September. Now, incentives are going throughout the entire year, but you'll get emails about the incentives, what they are, how to apply, and make sure that you meet the deadlines on those incentives. So the incentives, we're going to have little blurbs about that all throughout the year. In October, we already mentioned it a few times, dues are due by October 1st. Now, I'm such a planner. If October 1st is your due date, we're going to start advertising it in September, maybe even late August, to get people geared up. And I'm going to tell you why in just a moment. Also in October, you have additional incentives, area visits, November. This is where your visit forms are due by November 30th. It's an opportunity to think ahead. If it's due in November, have your area visits beforehand so you can collect all that information. As a president, I would get those forms and I would read them and share them with my officers, and they were really, really valuable for my club's growth. December, you want to start thinking about those speech contests and getting everyone prepped for that because the club contests start in January. Now, also in November, we're going to be kicking off our newsletter contest. It was a huge hit last year, and we're going to continue doing it. The run rate is from November through April. And we're going to give you information throughout the year how to build a fantastic newsletter for your clubs. And also make sure at the end of the year, December, if you haven't collected any incentives, make sure you do that. The next slide, please. Now, beginning of 2022, we're going to have follow-up. We're going to do TI winter training early January, as Carolyn said. Speech contest at the club level. Newsletter contest continues on, and succession planning. You want to start thinking ahead. Who are the key people you want to take over your role when you finish your term? February, area speech contest, newsletter contest. March, district speech contest, and additional club visits. April, dues are due. Again, we're going to be thinking ahead on that to make sure everyone pays their dues on time. Newsletter awards, we're going to do our finalization of who actually is the winners in April because we want to announce it at the spring conference. That brings us to May. We have our spring conference. Club elections happen in May and June. And here's your opportunity to encourage club officers to support at the district level for next year. Thinking ahead, because you don't want to wait till the last minute. And your AD visit forms will be due the end of May. In June, some clubs may have June elections. Collect the last bit of those incentives. You don't want to wait till the last minute. And you want to, again, encourage your club officers to support District 57. Next slide, please. Perfect. Thank you so much. I talked about the newsletters. Newsletters are going to come out every month. This is an opportunity for you for news and information from our leadership. But you know what? This is an opportunity for you to shine. Submit your articles. Share tips that have brought 100 people to your clubhouse. To your open house. And if you don't think that's possible, talk to me because I have an article up there how to do that. You have an opportunity to share your tips for success to help other clubs grow. And you want to also encourage your club officers to read the newsletters as well. If you get a chance to have your club officers submit articles, that actually qualifies for part of your OATM, your Outstanding Achievement Toastmaster Award. You have an idea to share? We'd love to hear it. Your deadline to submit your articles is the 15th of every month, and you can submit it to news@d57tm.org. We will review the articles, set them up. There'll be a blurb on the homepage as well as the email newsletter. Here's the benefits, the value add. Like I said, you can showcase your club's success, challenge your club officers to grow in their leadership skills and their communication skills by supporting the newsletter. You help them to understand and connect with the district early. And then they're more prepared to help out the leadership on a bigger level. So let's go to the next slide. Thank you. Now, this can't be done by one single person. We have an awesome team set up this year. I'm leading the public relations management for my team, Justine Rodriguez, Sheila Steinberg Asiedos as newsletter support. Because newsletters that come out every month, plus a newsletter contest, we're having them team up together to do this. Risiko Tug and Monley Kwok will be our webmasters and supporting roles on that because it's not just the web. It's Eventbrite, it's MailChimp. There's a lot of things going on every month here. And we also have social media. We're going to be a deep dive into social media this year. We're going to be building campaigns throughout the year under different themes. So Facebook, Twitter, we've got it all. Dawn is going to be our podcast chair. This is an advisory role that will help those who are using podcasting as part of their electives or high performance leadership project. She'll be supporting those officers or members doing a podcasting project. We have a support team: Ashley Harkness, Linda Stewart, Don Benson again, and Abhishek Chaturvedi. Now, it's more than just a newsletter, it's more than social media. What this team is going to be doing is offering tips and tools throughout the year to help your clubs grow. For example, we always talk about getting a sponsor. How do you talk to an executive? What do you do in that moment? We're going to show you tips from an executive, how they process their information, because at the end of the day, we want them to say yes. And we're going to give you the tips and tools how to do that. More of that information will be coming out throughout the year. So with that, we want to give you tips and tools that will help your clubs grow this year and offer opportunities in leadership. And at the end of the day, improve the members' experience. Now, I know that's just a big information all up front. So we will give information throughout the year, but I'd like to open it up for any questions.
There are no questions in the chat,
No
Nancy, at the
questions.
moment.
Terrific.
No questions in the chat right now.
Okay.
It's a shy bunch, isn't it?
Well, I'm sure the questions will come. I have no doubt. And you can always reach me at prm@d57tm.org. So you'll see my name a lot, and I look forward to hearing all from you and help communicate your success. Thank you.
All right, nothing for that. All right, thank you. Thank you, Nancy. Looking forward to a great year. PR covers a lot of categories. Robert, did you have a question there?
Oh no, I just clapped my hand.
Okay, anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, well, we have recovered back to on schedule here. So let's go on to the next thing. Is Toastmasters free? Well, no, it's low cost, but it's not quite free, is it? I think it's a bargain. I've seen the fees some people are charging for speaking programs, and it's absolutely outrageous compared to the low prices we have. But we do need to pay dues. There are implications for paying dues and for not paying dues. And to explain our dues structure and our dues schedule, I want to turn over to our financial manager, the district financial manager, the money lady, Michelle Tony.
Thank you, George. Well, I'm basically following Linda Patton's footsteps, so I'm still in her mercy. So thank you, Linda. And welcome, everybody. Yes, I am your finance manager as of July 1st. And just a quick little oversight of what the financial manager does for the district. Basically, I do a fiscal oversight and manage the district. I closely work with the TRIO team as close as possible to ensure that the district is making cost-effective decisions within policy that results in effective fiscal management. And again, I handle mostly all the financial managers in District 57. So just like George says, dues are dues. And there's two different meanings of that one word. Although they're spelled the same way, it's two different meanings. Dues are dues. Most of us know that when you pay a due for any organization, of course, as a member, you have to be part of some type of membership, involved in some kind of way. But I want to at least let you guys know that as a member, when you pay your dues, you have so many resources involved with your, either in your chapter, in your area, whatever. And I feel as what is it for your members is kind of where the dues come from. Basically with the dues in more detail is that, well, let's get back to the dates. As you see on the screen, these are the actual renewal dates for the membership dues every 6 months. So the first set of 6 months, the dues are due on August 15th through September 30th. So you have a little over a month and a half to go to renew those dues. Then the second set of dues is due on February 15th, March 31st. Of course, August and September is 2021, where February and March is 2022. Forgot to put the years on there. So these are the dates. So please do a screenshot, write it down, put it on the calendar that Nancy had just mentioned, or we'll send you the deck with this information. This information was given or was pulled from the actual Toastmasters website. So I did not make up these dates. These came from the actual website. And of course, these are the amounts of the dues. Okay. Now let's go back to the dues in regards to what is it for the members. Basically, what Nancy, what Carolyn, and what Ed said a little bit about, dues are utilizing for the incentives, for the conferences, the awards. When these dues are submitted or paid, the majority of the dues go to these type of events. If it wasn't for these dues, you will not have any conferences, incentives, and awards. Don't forget, one more thing is you have to be eligible to participate in some of these contests and receive these awards. That's another reason why it's good for members to pay their dues. Also, and this was given to me yesterday and I totally forgot about it, and it does make sense. For those who do not pay their membership dues, you will lose access to Pathways for those who do use Pathways. So it's very, 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 very important to pay your dues on time, and I would say early. I'll do earlier than just saying pay it on time. Again, just to understand and to emphasize, dues are due twice in the year, from August to September, and then from February to March. I can't express it. Again, screenshot it, write it down, put it somewhere in your calendar, and of course, communicate this with your membership as much as possible. Newsletter, each membership meeting, any kind of way, because it is. I'm sure people, like Nancy just got through saying, people have things to do and have a lot of things going on. But for those who really want to get something out of Toastmasters and want to use these different types of events and resources and the mentorship that Carolyn just mentioned, it is really, really best to go ahead and get those dues sent in. I'm sure each chapter has their own way of sending dues and payments. So always talk to your area director or your finance person on how to make that work out. But again, I can't express it. Again, for those who really want to get involved and have really some type of resource or something getting out of it, especially with going into events, incentives, getting into contests, trainings, it's really, really good to submit your dues on time and be part of the international Toastmasters world. Any questions? None? Okay. I guess that's it. George, I don't know who's next, but I guess that's it. Hopefully I emphasize it a lot. Dues are due. Dues are due.
Who are all these shy people? I thought I had a room full of Toastmasters. Thank you, Michelle. It's kind of a thankless job. She doesn't get to stand in front of the group a lot of times, which is why I made sure she was here today. But finance is an absolutely critical part of it. Did you know that those dues you pay, 25% of them come back to the district? 25% of them come back to the district, and they are used for, as Michelle said, things like awards, recognition, plus paying for all the various things we have. We have a storage locker up in a part of the district where we store all the stuff that doesn't fit in anyone's garage. It's how we pay for the website, a whole bunch of other things. So dues matter. It's not something everyone says, oh, I just love to pay my dues, but we need to be able to do that. We're going to go ahead. Question, yes.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is Cynthia from Speak East's Club. There is a concern from some of the club members regarding about paying credit cards. And sometimes, credit card, we're talking about PII now, and some of them don't like to give their credit card numbers to the treasurer. Maybe there's some way in the future to establish some kind of an automation process to pay directly for the club member to pay directly to the Toastmaster International, where they can just pay directly and log in by themselves rather than have the treasurer or authorized officer to accept the payment from the club member using a credit card?
Good question. Question is there some way that members can pay their dues directly to Toastmasters? They've been talking about that for a while. There's some complications because of the large number of members. It's actually been possible for the last year or two for club officers to pay their dues directly to Toastmasters. And the headquarters folks have been telling us they are working on a way for individual members to be able to do that. They don't do it yet. There is one alternative you can use, which is some clubs have set up a PayPal account so that the member can, and this is typically in the member section of the club website, so that the member can go in and using PayPal, they can actually pay their dues. They can put in their credit card. The treasurer doesn't see it. It's paid into the PayPal account. The treasurer transfers it into the bank account. So that's one way that you can accept credit card payments. I actually have a description of how you do that on my Toastmasters data website. I'll forward that to you at some point. And there's other ways you can do it as well too. But I think we'll probably see direct member pay soon, but unfortunately they haven't given us a time frame, so I can't tell you when. Be nice, wouldn't it?
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can I say something? I just
Sure.
found some information from the headquarters regarding whether members can pay using their credit card. So one way you can do is to have your member call you to give you the credit card information, the treasurer, while you are on the Club Central payment page. So you can enter that credit card information under there, and you will submit a payment to the member at the time that the headquarters working on making members to pay themselves. So if the member feels comfortable giving you the credit card information over the phone, then that's doable.
Right,
Yeah.
and let me expand on that a little bit. A lot of what people really object to is they don't want the number written down. They certainly don't want to send a credit card number, an email and so forth. And so the technique that she just outlined is the one where you're on the phone, the member recites the credit card number and the treasurer is typing it in as they speak. So it never even touches a piece of paper. Now, of course, you're still trusting the treasurer, but if you don't trust the treasurer, what in the world did you do elect him to office? So we'll get there.
I'd like to make a comment. When we were back in the physical location, what the treasurer does is the treasurer open the laptop, enter everything, and then the member will just enter the credit card number to pay without the treasurer looking at it. And then when everything is submitted, then the treasurer will finalize the payment. I mean, we could do that, but some of our members are hesitant to give their credit card number. But I like the idea of PayPal or Zelle, but some of them are hesitant to use Zelle or PayPal. They're used to giving the credit card directly to the company itself. So I hope that will happen soon, George. So we'll be looking forward to that. Thank you.
I wish I had a positive answer for every question that's going to come up, but it's what we've got.
Okay.
We'll hold any further questions. We're going to have, I've been asking the questions so far to stay on what the speaker was talking about. We're going to have a section later on where we're going to do catch up open season, any questions that have come up during the day. But right now we're going to dive in a little bit deeper. So Ed gave you expectations of area directors, which talked about some of the things you do. Nancy gave you an overview of the year. We're going to combine those two. We're going to bring both Ed and Nancy back up, excuse me, to talk about 30, 60, and 90-day planning. So we're going to get fairly specific. They're going to offer you specific suggestions on what to be working on over the next few months. So take it away, Ed and Nancy.
Thank you, George. I'm going to start with a story. And the story is, go to the dashboard and look at area D14, where you will see 3 clubs with 10 goals and the remaining club with 8 Distinguished Club Program goals. So good clubs. And then look to see if there's a letter of some kind attached to 14. No, there isn't. And the reason is that in November 30th, 2020, 75% of the area visit reports were not submitted to TI. Again, we're going to be talking about 30, 60, 90. Think about your area visit reports in August. Use that as your 30. Use October as your 90. And you won't have the experience of having wonderful clubs with no letter. And after that story, I'm going to toss it over to Nancy.
Well, thank you so much, Ed. Just to add on to that, when you talk about the 90, 60, 30, marketing studies have shown it takes anywhere from 7 to 8 touch points for your user to do the call to action. So let's think about that. How many emails do you get every day? It's a lot. And then you look at Facebook, and you look at Twitter, and you look at Instagram, and you look at TikTok, or whatever you're going to do. There's a lot competing for your attention. So you have to remind them again, and remind them again. Because sometimes I look at an email and I say, oh, yeah, I'll get to it. And then I go Facebook, oh yeah, I got to do that. Then Twitter. Then I get the second reminder email. Oh yeah, I better do it now. So you've got a lot to do. So that's why I always say, think ahead the 90, 60, 30 days. For example, when your dues are due, talk to your officers first. Have your officer complete their dues first. That will get, then the members will follow the officers to get their dues processed. So you want to remind them end of August and then September, and bring it up in the meetings in September so they complete their dues by end of September. The other thing you want to do is to be mindful of your resources. I am a big planner, and I do not like to have anyone on my team or even at work or life have to drop everything at the last minute at the 11th hour to do something. I'd rather give them time to build upon it, and have fun with it, get creative with it, and really enjoy the process. So be mindful. You don't want to drop big surprises on your officers because they have a life, they work, they have family, a lot of commitments. So that's why we also want to plan ahead. So those are 2 big tips that I want to offer is remind multiple times, plan ahead. So maybe some activities in October, some activities in September, some activities in August. And that way it helps create that partnership with your clubs and not surprise them at the last minute. I think that's helpful. I hope that's helpful. That's helped my club grow. We went from 8 members to over 20. So we've done really, really well. And we brought ourselves up for the first time in 8 years to be distinguished. So I hope that helps. Anything else, Ed, we should talk about SMART goals or?
Well, of course, we'll talk about SMART goals. We'll talk about a variety of other things, but those first 30 days are a time to get comfortable with your club. At 60 days, you should be able to actively contribute, think about what the club is like. And by 90 days, you can be the district leader we all want you to be. So this is your 30 to get comfortable with your clubs. Use July in that way. In the old days, when you had to physically go, you had to sort of make an appointment and figure out, where are these clubs? But now you don't have to physically make an appointment. You could show up, and you don't have to show up as the district leader. You can show up as an interested party, see what the club is like, see what the club culture is like, see what they do well. They will figure out what they do well and what they don't do well if they follow Carolyn's advice and do a moments of truth. But you'll see some things at your first visit. That's your 30. You're 90. You're about ready to say, who's going to do those educational achievements? How's the club doing in recruitment? Did they submit their club officer list in June? As George said, nearly half the clubs haven't done that yet. So maybe your 30 starts now. Nancy, do you want to take us to SMART goals?
Yeah, just to add on what you just said about start your club visits sooner than later. And the reason I suggest that is because you have community clubs and you have corporate clubs, and each one is going to be a little bit different, maybe a little bit different culture. And it's your opportunity to identify any potential gaps and areas of opportunity to grow. So that's why you want to start now, so then you can create your plan for the year. So talking about that, we start discussing about SMART goals. I don't know if everyone knows what a SMART goal is. It is specific, it is measurable, it is attainable, it's realistic, and time-bound. Now, let's give you an example. I'll say, you know, like usually we see in January, people say, oh, I want to drop 30 pounds. Okay, someone will say 30 pounds. But then you have the other person says, you know what? I want to drop 30 pounds by September. You're starting in January, September, and I'm going to drop 1 to 2 pounds a week. And I'm going to cut my calories, and I'm going to join the gym, and I'm going to take 2 classes every week. Which one of those 2 are going to be successful? The second one, because you break it down into smaller goals. It's specific, it is measurable, it is attainable, it's realistic, and it's time bound. Now, I always joke, it's like, yes, I love to be 5'7". It's not attainable. I come in at 5'3.5". I'm not going to go any taller. It's not attainable. But there's specific goals that are attainable. At the beginning of July, you have an opportunity to bring your club to distinguished status by June of next year. Specifically, think about your club goals for the year. Think about each club, what they can do, how you can help them throughout the year, specifically like open houses. How many open houses can they do? What is measurable? How do you measure that success? If your goal open house is to have 10 people join as a guest and maybe 1 become a member, that's a great measurement. Is it attainable? Absolutely. Is it realistic? Absolutely. Is it time bound? So talk to each club and say, okay, think about maybe 2 to 3 open houses per year. That's realistic and it's time bound. So think about your SMART goals, what you want to do for the year, and then break it out into smaller sections. And I guarantee you're going to have a lot of success if you do that. Now, stilettos are not in my future at 5'7". That would be nice. I can't get them that high. But thank you. But talking about goals for your club, if you create a SMART goal, you're going to have a better chance of success. Back to you, Ed.
Wonderful, Nancy. Nancy talked about gap analysis.
Mhm.
And, you know, Carolyn said, what's in it for you? Well, you know, if you get good at gap analysis, you can take that to the bank. There are a number of opportunities this year. You know, this is Toastmasters. You're doing it as a volunteer. What's in it for you? There are skills which you can take outside of Toastmasters, and you want to look at your clubs and see what they're doing well. It's kind of like an icebreaker. You want to tell that speaker, these are the things you do well, don't lose them. And these are some things you could perhaps try out. And here's a way of challenging yourself. You're not the train from Washington. You're not coming in to tell them what to do. No, you are gradually figuring out what they do, and eventually say, you have 12 wonderful members. How do we get you 5 more members? And the vice president of membership probably wants to know, how do I get 5 more members? Nancy got an open house with, with an enormous number of people. There is someone who can help you, but you need to keep focused on what the schedule is. You want to look at various and sundry things that will be on the calendar at d57tm.org. You want to think about the Smedley Award and Beat the Clock, and we will have in District 57, we will have some other little contests, membership things. We incentivize the things that are good for your clubs. So look at the club incentives and follow along. Thoughts, Nancy?
I think that is a great overview of possibilities, what you could do for your 90, 60, and 30 days. This is your opportunity to grow and to lead your clubs. And we are here to support you, and we want to partner with you to have a very successful year. And like I said, when you have your open houses and you grow your membership, let us know for PR, because we want to share that great news. We want to be your cheerleaders and your partners.
And you'll be doing 30s all through the year.
Yes.
It's learning, contributing, leading, 30, 60, 90, and you'll be doing those all through the year. You can't service your clubs in a good way without turning in your club visit reports. So, and those dates are solid. I say, take that May 30th, 2021 and call it the end of October. Take that May 31st, 2022 and call it the end of April. You'll be busy with the conference in May. So you'll be repeating this process over and over, and there are specific things you want to accomplish, and then there are things you will make this year your own.
Absolutely. Just to add on to that, Ed, when I got my area report as a president, I looked at it very seriously. I reviewed it the first day, and I responded back why certain things didn't happen, or, opportunities to grow. And we partnered. Have your club presidents partner with you how to continuously improve your member experience. Because if you start with the member experience, everything else will take care of itself. So partner with them and ask your officers. We would have our area director join our officer meeting every month and ask them, as an area director, ask them, what would you like to do in the next 30, 60 days? I bet you they're going to come up with tons of ideas, and they just want to run it by you first to see if it sounds right, and then just coach them and help them succeed.
Wonderful. And keeping in mind priorities. You can see from earlier in this meeting, I'm as distractible as the dog and up. Squirrel! I was willing to talk about area realignment when we were talking about something else. Keep focused on what is the highest priority. Don't have a gigantic party when you should be turning in your area visit report. Keep your priorities in mind. You're going to do fine. It's going to be a fabulous, fun year. And without even noticing, you are going to get some skills which you'll be able to take to the bank.
Absolutely.
I think we're done. Questions, maybe? No questions.
No
Nancy,
questions.
we've
I've
done,
got
You rocked
questions.
it.
we've done so well. Nobody wants to ask us any questions.
Hang on, I missed something. Tell me again what an area director should be doing in July?
You want to find, well, you want to find out who your clubs are And then your July is essentially meeting your clubs. Anything I forgot, Nancy?
No, I agree with you. Find out your clubs, get invited to an officer meeting and understand the culture of your clubs. And then ask them what things they've been probably in the club for a while before they became an officer. What are things that they would like to see? And then maybe you could start talking about the moments of truth and kick off the year and then create your goals from the results from the moments of truth. I see Carolyn nodding, right? I think that's a good kickoff.
And you don't need,
Attend the training, attend
Yes, and the training.
TLI.
Yes, TLI. That's a big thing.
and you don't need to have District Central to have access to the dashboard. You don't even have to log in as yourself, as you do in so many things at Toastmasters.org. You can go to the dashboard, Region 1, District 57, open it up. If you're C8, roll through the A's. Who cares about the A's? Roll through the B's. Who cares about the B's? Roll through the other C's, go to your area and look at the clubs that are there. You'll be familiar with some of them, and some of them will be unfamiliar to you. This is the time. And of course, as Carolyn just said, encourage everyone to go to TLI. TLI is wonderful. Any other thoughts? I mean, any other questions?
Hang on, you're doing an entire year's worth of work in July, so there's nothing due in August?
That's how he works.
Talk to us about August.
Well, we could do some club officer makeup training.
Officer
Or
makeup training.
guess what? If you really don't have anything else to do, come and be a trainer for club officer makeup training. You could be a tech host if you don't want to have a speaking part.
I would talk to your clubs and talk to them about the OATM, talk about the Triple Crown, and definitely take a look at the incentives. So they could start planning for those incentives, the open house incentives, the Smelly Award, start planning for that.
Yeah, actually, I had a question about that. There was a list of awards that Carolyn showed us in the beginning, and then we saw details of that in later presentations. But is that list available like on D57, the website? So I can just say, because
Yes.
on the D57 website, I see everything is like, the incentives are all there, but the specific details for like, the way Carolyn put it was like, it was so simple and like right there.
I love this question. If you go to d57tm.org,
Yeah.
club experience, your very first thing in the flyout menu
Yeah.
is incentives. And then there's a nice, this is for this year.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy will make it even spiffier for next year, of course. Everything is there, but this is a very good point. And that is, not everybody can navigate. And you want, particularly in an executive meeting, that is the seven club officers in a club, you want to remind them just how easy it is to get this information, because if they haven't been playing around, they probably haven't found it. And going to George's point, what do you do? I said there's a 30, 60, 90, there are 30s going on all the time. What are those 30s? That's a great spot to start. Nancy mentioned the newsletter contest and that it has a beginning and an end. Virtually everything has a beginning and an end. We do club membership contests in spaces in time.
Mhm.
Nancy?
I would just suggest take a look at the calendar, print it out,
Yeah.
and then maybe pencil in all the incentives, and then you can start
Ah.
planning for that.
Thank you,
'Cause
Nancy.
yeah, because you don't want to have it say, "Oh darn, we had an open house and we missed that incentive." Or,
Exactly. That's kind of what I was looking for, you know?
yeah, we want to give you
Yeah.
that incentive.
Okay. Thank you.
We're trying to set you up for success.
Yes.
We want you to be a success, and we want your clubs to be a success. We want everyone to be their best, and looking ahead and prioritizing. I'm good at one of those and not at the other. So work with your strengths and then build on your weaknesses.
Mhm.
Great, thank you. And a lot of tips coming up in the chat. Thank you so much for putting them in there because they're very helpful.
Well, and thanks for becoming an area director, Shalini.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
We look forward to partnering with you this year. Any other questions?
I have a question. What is OATMMS? Is it Outstanding Toastmaster?
It is
Outstanding Achievement
Yes.
Toastmasters. Nancy will give you visual aid.
Thank
I
you.
know it's not very good with my background. Sorry. I'm turning, there you go. Outstanding Achievement Toastmaster Award. Now, just so you know, you cannot complete this in a month. So don't think you can just one of those things, right? There you go. He's got one. Oh, we're twins. Check it out. We're twinning. There's a spread. You could take a look at from last year's, the Excel spreadsheets up there, and you could do something. Oh, Carolyn's got, wow, everybody's got one.
George has got one.
Yes. So keep
If-
in mind, one of the things you can check off is that your officers, your club officers completing a year checks them off at one item for that particular award. And adding articles to his newsletter will also help. Participate as trainer at TLI. There's lots of opportunities throughout the year to get that award. Now, I'm the first one in my club to get this award, and I'm going to highly encourage every single member to go after it this year. Imagine the brand recognition of your club, of all these members getting an OATM. And let me tell you something. I work at Kaiser Permanente, and this is now on LinkedIn. And my boss knows I did this. And so it shows all my extra leadership skills that I'm doing beyond my work. So it helps me professionally. So I'm using it in a lot of ways. So I strongly recommend it. But just as a club, that's huge. Getting your club to distinguished status, OATMs, Triple Crown Awards, that's your opportunity right there.
And there will be changes to it from last year to this year.
Mhm.
We're adding in a very large amount of points for being a club ambassador. So if you have experienced members in your clubs, you might remind them that there are things like the club ambassador and the club coach to work on. Speechcraft can be life-changing. Youth leadership. There are lots of things. People don't have to get tired of what they're doing, because Toastmasters allows you to do an enormous amount of things. Some things you haven't discovered yet.
Mhm.
Other questions?
I don't see any questions.
No,
Okay, well,
I
we're
don't.
doing real well. I'm going to say one small thing about the OATM, then we'll take a break. Again, if you go to the district website and look under both member experience and clubs, you'll find some incentives. We adjust and tweak these every year, but I think they'll mostly be familiar. The Outstanding Achievement Toastmaster is a particularly prestigious award. It requires substantial effort in 6 different areas:
Mhm.
communications, leadership, inside the club, outside the club, district service, all that. Typically, only about 20 to 25 members a year in our district earn that award. That's out of about 2,500 to 3,000 members in District 57. This is a award unique to District 57. Other districts have their own versions of it, kind of like it. But for your energetic and ambitious members that want to get all they possibly can out of Toastmasters, point them at that OATM.
Just to add on to that, I've been a member for over 4 years. The first 3 years as a member, I never knew about the OATM, was never aware of it. So this is your opportunity to share that information with your club members and get them excited about it. Because I really started looking at it last fall, and then I started working on it. And just taking a little piece at a time made it so much easier.
All right, great. We're doing okay on time. So let's take another break and be back here at 11:10. 11:10, okay? Thanks, folks. Hey, Ed, quick question. When are you going to set up the breakouts?
The breakouts are set up. Should I open the all rooms?
No, not yet. I checked it earlier in the day and they weren't set up yet. So you
Oh,
did it while I wasn't looking. So now we'll do what we talked about earlier. I'll turn it
Yeah.
over to you when it's time.
Uh,
Okay, thank you. Back at 11:10.
How's it going? Are we on break?
we are on break. We're on a
Okay.
10-minute break.
How fun.
Did you just come back?
I'm trying to go on a little mini vacation. So I was just talking to Steve, but I didn't hear anyone ask for me, so I thought it was safe.
You had a lot to go through and you did it very quickly. Well done.
I know. It's a lot of stuff. I hope it's inspirational so people consider one day running for one of these offices.
I'm going to remove my spotlight if I can figure out. There we go.
Yeah.
So were you spotlighted when you shouldn't have been?
No. Michelle or Nancy or
Oh.
something was. I can't remember what it was
Okay.
anymore.
Well, I'm doing my best, but it does give me an insight to what deck meetings have been like.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Well, I'm going away and
Good
thanks.
job. I watched most of your presentation. It was really good.